It's rumor and innuendo season in the NFL. Which free agent should have the Patriots saying yay or nay? Stick around. You're about to be locked into the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. Thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. I'm your host, Mike Debate. I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country, so reach out to me. Let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. While you're out there showing some love to Locked On Patriots social media style, please follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And if you're looking at me over where the skies are blue, you can find me there as well at MDABATENFL.bsky.social. Pats fans, free agency is on the cusp of beginning in the 2025 NFL season. Legal tampering period set to begin on Monday, March 10th. And of course, all of the unofficial signings that we'll hear about between Monday and noontime on Wednesday, March 12th, will become official when the league year begins. Which players will your favorite team be targeting? And with an expected $130 million in available cap space, you know the Patriots are going to be active. And if they're going to be active, you know they're going to be attached to a lot of rumors surrounding a lot of players. And that's exactly the topic we're going to discuss here today on Locked On Patriots. Should the Patriots be thumbs up or thumbs down on the latest rumored available free agents? We're going to talk about the Pats' rumored interest in Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams. We're going to switch gears over on the offensive side and talk about some much-needed upgrade to that offensive line and potentially snagging Baltimore Ravens offensive lineman Ronnie Stanley. Last and certainly not least, we're going to talk about any potential free agent wideouts, including one that newly became available earlier this week. Could Davante Adams really become a New England Patriot? But we'll discuss all that and more today. And of course, I say we because if we're talking free agency, we're talking rumor and innuendo, we have got to bring in our resident voice of reason, someone who is going to lend a thicket of knowledge and realism to all of the information that's being spread out there throughout Pats Nation and throughout the social media universe when it comes to the NFL. And that's my good friend and Patriots Paisan, Steve Balestrieri at PatsFans.com and Patriots 4th and 2 podcast. Bud, thank you so much for joining me here today. We need you here today on this show, perhaps more than ever, my friend.
It's always a pleasure, and it's getting to be that exciting time of year again, right? I mean, as we said, it seemed like so long before free agency started after the season ended. Now it's right around the corner.
It is.
We'll be diving into it next week. I think this is always the most exciting time of year because there's so many variables and, there's so many possibilities. We'll just have to see how they all play out.
Oh, absolutely. And they're going to play out. And in a lot of circles, Steve, they're already starting to play out. As we speak, as you're viewing this, folks, there are rumors that are surrounding the New England Patriots, and seemingly every rumored free agent out there seems to have the Patriots' name attached to it in one way, shape, or form. Now, this is for a couple of reasons. First, New England Patriots are hungry to bring in talent. This is a roster that is devoid of top-level talent right now in most positions. And they're going to be clamoring to try to upgrade wherever they can. So if there's a player available, the Patriots logistically, from an on-field standpoint, should have interest. Most importantly, Bud, you know as well as I, this always comes down to money. Patriots with $130 million in expected available salary cap space. Yeah, even if they're not interested in a player, agents out there are going to make it seem like the Patriots are interested to get other teams to up the ante, to kind of pony up and, shell out that load of cash it's going to take to get these players to sign their respective teams. So in that vein, New England right now is surrounded by a great deal of rumors. So I thought what we'd do today is play a game of yay or nay. Whether or not the latest rumors surrounding the Patriots' interest in potential free agents is going to materialize or not, what are your thoughts on the subject? What does your reasonable approach tell us about the Patriots' potential to sign these players or if a lot of it may be smoke and mirrors. And let's start on the defensive side of the ball, Bud, arguably your area of expertise. Steve, we all know, as I said earlier, the Patriots have a lot of areas to upgrade, but I think we'd be lying if we didn't say defensive line is one of the key areas they really need to upgrade. We know that Terrell Williams coming in is going to be installing and instituting a much more aggressive, much more strike first type of mentality when it comes to that defensive line. DeMarcus Covington had a style that relied very heavily on two gapping. The New England Patriots are not necessarily going to do that. They need to change their personnel up front. If they do that, one of the guys that New England is rumored to be heavily interested in is Eagles defensive lineman Milton Williams. Now, in my opinion, this makes sense for so many different reasons. Williams is expected to be one of the top free agents on the board. He already is listed among the top defenders that are available potentially in this offseason. He picked the best time to showcase his talent in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. Folks, one of the best players in that game without question. 2 sacks, 2 stops, 4 total pressures, but Williams had a very good year in 2024 as well. He had 5 sacks, a career-high 40 quarterback pressures, and played 47.8 defensive snaps. That was also a career high. When you look at Milton Williams logistically, obviously this is a hand-in-glove fit, but I think it's a fit for so many reasons. The way he plays the game, the aggressive nature, the swagger with which he patrols that defensive line. I don't want to steal your thunder, my friend. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and feel free to, but I don't see how anybody could look at this and say nay on Milton Williams. I think this is a thumbs up all the way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you saw that Eagles defense. It wasn't a fluke against the Chiefs, right? I mean, they were doing that all year long. That defense, I mean, they were fast, they were aggressive, they penetrated, they disrupted. I mean, they did this all year long, and they continued it in the Super Bowl. They had, probably the best quarterback in these last 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. They had him flustered and flummoxed. I mean, he couldn't do anything because of that pressure. And I think, and the one thing you didn't mention, Williams is only 25.
Exactly.
He's still very young. He's got his best years ahead of him, I still think. And I want to point something out to the draftniks who are so down on Mason Graham, okay? Graham is 6'3", 295. Oh, he's not 300 pounds, And that's for the two-gapping style.
Right.
Milton Williams is 6'3", 291, and he was a wrecking ball.
Absolutely.
All through the season and into the playoffs against the best teams. And arguably, 2-time Super Bowl returning champs, right? He was a game wrecker. And so if that's the type of defense they're going to, these guys perfectly fit that. They don't have to be 300 pounds,
right?
Because they're being aggressive. They're going to snap off the ball. And I think Williams is, I don't even think he's completely hit his stride yet. I think I think his best days are still in front of him. I'm all in if the Patriots want to sign him because I think that he's a fantastic player and he's going to fit what Vrabel and Williams, Terrell Williams want to do. I think this is a hand in glove fit, as you said. I think he's a fantastic player, and it's worth throwing some money at this guy because he's proven. He's done it now in the Super Bowl. He did it for the entire year. I mean, this guy, and I think he's hungry for more.
Oh, without question. You're absolutely right. And I'm glad that you mentioned him not hitting his stride yet, because if you take a look at the progression that he made from 2023, even 2022, if you want to go back that far, and then now move into 2025, those 40 quarterback pressures, that career high that I mentioned earlier, that's 4 more than he had in the previous 2 seasons combined. So you talk about that next level step. Williams has taken that, and I think he could take that even further here in New England. He ranked 4th among NFL interior defensive linemen by Pro Football Focus last season. in their pass rush win rate metric of 17.5%. That right there tells me that this kid is not only yet to hit his stride, but this kid is showing the desire and he's showing the devotion and the discipline to improve each and every time he gets out there on the field. And again, I think you make a great point, and that even goes back to someone like a Mason Graham for a draft target. The Patriots are no longer going to be running that two-gapping style. They're going to be focusing on the attack. It's definitely going to be a different system than what they ran under DeMarcus Covington, which really relied more on eating up space and again, two-gapping, which they did so often. So this is going to be a new look Patriots defense, a new look Patriots front. Terrell Williams wants to get aggressive. I don't think it's really a stretch of the imagination to say this kid is the way to kickstart that defense. Now, obviously, Steve, this is going to come down to money. Perhaps there's a blueprint already on the table. The Dallas Cowboys on Tuesday signing an extension to a star defender of their own, and also Odigizua, a 4-year, $80 million deal. Does this sound right to you, depending on the market, Steve, or you think the Patriots may have to up the ante a little bit to bring in someone like a Milton Williams?
Well, I mean, I could see them going 3 and 75, and that would leave Williams at just 28 years old in line for another big payday. And, because I think they would probably want to keep the contracts a bit shorter this time around, especially if guys are kind of on the fence about coming to New England. Give them a chance to see, how they planning on rebuilding the team. Of course, he would be a big part of that. And just think of the possibilities if Christian Barmore can put his health issues behind him. You have your two interior guys with him and Milton Williams, and boy, that would be something to behold, I think.
Yeah, something to behold is a great choice of words there, Steve. I love it. It certainly would be. And again, I think you're right on the money. And I'm glad that you mentioned, as you have previously here on Locked On Patriots, keeping the contracts maybe a little bit shorter, giving these guys maybe a little bit more money up front. That's going to give them the incentive to sign here. And then if they like it, they can always re-up. If not, they're still young enough to go out there and to chase that max deal. So that could be a very easy... That could be a very good way for the New England Patriots to endear themselves to Milton Williams. But bottom line, if you're thinking logistically, folks, Steve has outlined a great case. 25 years of age, someone who is exceptional at getting after the quarterback, and he can rise to the occasion in the key moments and in the biggest situations on the grandest stages. Yeah, this is a major thumbs up from both Steve and myself when it comes to Milton Williams. Elliot Wolf, Ryan Cowden, Mike Vrabel, get in a room, grab Milton, get this done. The New England Patriots absolutely will be a better team for bringing in a player of his magnitude. So, Steve, we're already fixing the defense here. I like it, and I think Patriots fans like it as well. But you know as well as I, the area that really needs the most help is the offensive side of the ball, an area that has continued to regress year after year. Seems like it's just been one downfall after another. Arguably since Tom Brady left, but definitely since the 2021 season when Josh McDaniels left. Skill position players are needed, and they're needed badly, but perhaps not needed as badly as a solid offensive tackle to come in and stabilize what has been a porous offensive line. And I think I'm putting it lightly, folks. Who better than the best player on the market to bring in for the New England Patriots and solidify that line? Steve and I are going to go thumbs up or thumbs down, yay or nay, on Ronnie Stanley of the Baltimore Ravens when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Listen up, Locked On listeners, especially all of you pet owners out there. You've probably heard of Chewy. They really do have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Whether you're shopping for food, treats, or even pet health care, Chewy makes it fast, easy, and affordable. With over 100,000 products from all of your favorite brands, Chewy has everything your pet needs, from food and treats to toys, beds, and grooming. And it's not just for dogs and cats. They've got supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, and small pets too. Chewy also makes it easy to manage your pet's health with prescriptions, telehealth vet visits, and even in-person vet clinics rolling out nationwide. Their feature, Auto Ship, is a game changer. You can set up automatic deliveries for food, treats, or any essentials so you never run out. You can easily change or cancel it at any time. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. Right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com or clicking the link in the description. Save $20 off your first order with free shipping by clicking the link in the description. Minimum purchase required, new customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots as we play a game of yay or nay when it comes to Pat's external free agents. And joining me here today to break it all down and lend his wisdom, counsel, and most importantly, folks, his level-headed reason to the subject is my good friend Steve Balestrieri, my Patriots paisan of PatsFans.com and Patriots 4th and 2. Steve, in the previous segment, we gave a major thumbs up to Eagles defensive tackle Milton Williams. We'd both love to see him in a Patriots uniform. Mostly all positives, hardly any negatives, simply because if he is looking for a max deal, the Patriots can afford to give him one. But if defensive tackle is a major need for the Pats, I think you could make the argument that offensive tackle, particularly left tackle, is maybe their biggest need. The Pats' offensive line has been a sieve in the last couple of years. I say that without amusement. It really has been that bad for this New England Patriots offensive line. They clearly need some help. They need a game changer to come in to solidify that line and provide solid and adequate protection for quarterback Drake May. Some have thought that maybe the draft might be the way to go, whether it's Will Campbell of LSU or whether it's Kelvin Banks of Texas. Maybe the Patriots wait it out, try to get a solid offensive lineman in the second round, like a Josh Connerly out of Oregon. But at the same time, most people are thinking the Patriots will need to go a veteran route, and that means free agency to secure a left tackle that's going to be capable of making life a lot easier for Drake May. The only game changer right now, Steve, that I think is on the board that could really fit that remark would be the Baltimore Ravens' Ronnie Stanley. And over the weekend, you and I have both heard a lot of rumor and innuendo that Stanley is being very closely linked to the New England Patriots. Now, this is someone you've had your eye on for a good long time. You've made it clear here on the airwaves on more than one occasion that Stanley would be a target of yours if you were in the Patriots front office. So I think we kind of gave our hand away, folks. This is a thumbs up from Steve, I'm assuming. But if it's not, or if you do still feel the same way, why should the Patriots be more than just casually interested in the services of perhaps now an ex-Baltimore Raven?
Well, I think, you look at the situation right now. They're in dire need of the left tackle. I think, everyone agrees on that. So you want to upgrade. Stanley, again, he's proven. He's a proven, very, very good left tackle. And yeah, he's a little bit older, right? I think he's going to be 31 when the season starts.
Right.
But he's still, in that age realm where he's going to be productive for at least 3 or 4 more years. So again, I throw some money in his direction, and I get that position locked up. They have a ton of cash to spend, and you want to make your draft easier. And if you can fill some of these holes by free agency, then in the draft, you're not drafting for positional need. You're drafting best player available,
right,
straight down the line. And I think Stanley will, completely alleviate the need for drafting a left tackle. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it doesn't have to be in the first or second round now. Because if you get him on board, I think you're locked up for the next couple of years easily. So if you can draft a guy maybe a little bit later and develop him, and then you have him on board, because you can never have enough good left tackles like cornerbacks or, edge rushers. So, bring the young guy on board, let him develop. You get Stanley, and then because you have a ton of cash,
Absolutely.
and that cash won't help you in the draft. So use it. I think they need to use it wisely. But I mean, again, you're going to have to overpay, but that's okay because you're getting a proven, all pro type of guy. And I think that alone will make the offense so much better because he's very good in the run game, very good in pass protection. I think that immediately the running backs on the roster are going to smile with this. So will Drake May for that matter.
Yeah, without any question. You'll be seeing a lot of celebration from the Patriots offensive skill position players, especially Drake May, and of course the wide receivers to be able to block, and the running backs as well. You mentioned what it would mean for the Patriots running game. This guy is a very adept run blocker. So yeah, all of the logistics check the box. Yes, you're absolutely right. He hasn't quite regained that all-pro form that he had in 2019 when he won the award, but he's still an all-pro, a two-time Pro Bowler. He's been in the league for a while. He knows how to rise to the occasion. So the experience alone definitely, I think, would be a major upgrade from everything that the Patriots had at the tackle position last year. Money is not an object, and it sounds very weird talking about a Patriots team and saying that, but they can afford to overpay a couple of guys. They could afford to overpay Milton Williams and then Ronnie Stanley and still not handcuff themselves for many years to come, provided they structure the contracts properly. To me, the area that I worry about when it comes to Ronnie Stanley is twofold. One, I'm not overly convinced he really wants to leave Baltimore. I think if they make him a competitive offer, he may be willing to stick around. But the other side of this, Steve, where maybe it becomes more worrisome for me, is if there is a bidding war for Ronnie's services, and we're already hearing about the interest from other teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, who ironically are in the news on Wednesday for dealing former New England Patriot Joe Thuney, reportedly, folks, to the Chicago Bears. They're looking to get their line younger, but they may also be looking to bring in a veteran on a short-term deal that might be looking to chase a ring. Ronnie's in a great spot to do it right now with Baltimore, but it'd be tough to argue that Kansas City is equally in as good a position to do that, maybe even better, considering their experience in the area. Cincinnati, is going to be in the mix for an offensive lineman. Pittsburgh would love to add someone of his caliber. Do you worry that the Patriots may get lost in the shuffle when it comes to contenders that might be in the mix for his services?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the money is one thing, but, when you're talking about a guy like him who's a little bit older and, he might take less money to go for a shot at a ring right away. The Patriots, even if they hit the draft out of the park this year, they're not going to be contending for the Super Bowl, in 2025. So, if you're Stanley, you're thinking, okay, if I'm going to leave Baltimore, maybe I'll take less money because he's made a good lick, in his career up to this point. I might take a little less if I can put that big hunk of gold on my finger.
Mm-hmm,
right?
Absolutely. But if you're looking to put a huge hunk of gold in your bank account, the New England Patriots may be the most appealing destination of all. If it comes down to just money, they do have more to offer than any of the other potential suitors out there for Ronnie Stanley. So it's going to come down to which type of enrichment Ronnie Stanley is going to want to chase at this point. I think you make a great point about him being older, wanting to try to go get a ring. He's made good money so far. Is it that important for him to max out this deal? Or is he looking to the future? Family financial security, all of these matters factor in, folks. So ultimately, it's going to be up to the Patriots to up the ante in this offseason. I think Ronnie Stanley is a guy you do it for, Steve. I know there are some, including our good friend that shares the airwaves with me an awful lot here on Locked On Patriots, that are not as energetic about the idea of signing Ronnie Stanley as we are. But I give this one a thumbs up as well. The Patriots have a dire need for help at left tackle, and Ronnie Stanley, I think, is about as solid as you can get on the open market right now in that department.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, this is just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks, right? If you're able to get Williams and Stanley, now your offensive and defensive lines have just been upgraded with massive upgrades, right? I mean, this isn't just like some couple of journeyman guys who, looking for a little bump in pay. These are massive upgrades. And now you enter the draft at number 4, and the whole world is open to you. You could still go after, a young defensive tackle like Mason Graham, or, offensive tackle like a Will Campbell, who I think I throw out all that arm length hoopla. I mean, the guy's played, in the SEC for 3 years. So, I mean, that doesn't matter anything to me. But, when you look at that top 4 pick, if 2 quarterbacks happen to go in those first 3 selections, which is, I'm not going to say a big possibility, but it is possible.
Right.
Then you're going to have your pick of either, Hunter or Carter. And now all of a sudden the picture is looking pretty rosy, So that's why I think these 2 guys, I mean, if they have to overspend to bring them into the fold, then by all means do it. It's not like they don't have the cash. And again, I mean, you don't have to waste your draft picks, by taking a guy for need.
Steve, we've talked offensive line, we've talked defensive line, but the skill positions are feeling a little left out at this point. And of course, the Patriots are going to be active in trying to add another pass catcher for Drake May. There's no question about it, folks. They need to do it, and they need to add one that's of significant value. The question is, will the Patriots look to the draft, look to free agency, or look to both? Well, if they're looking for experience when it comes to Drake May's wideouts, there are several that might be available and a few that might be intriguing for the Pats, including one from perhaps their most bitter divisional rival. Yeah, when you're a Jet all the way, unless your best friend quarterback gets told his services are no longer needed by the club. That's exactly what happened with Davante Adams down in the green side of the Meadowlands. Is there really a chance he'd end up in New England? Steve and I are going to talk about that point and more when we wrap up our discussion today on free agency, yay or nay for the Pats. And this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Pats fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots as we play a game of free agency, yay or nay, thumbs up or thumbs down when it comes to when it comes to your New England Patriots interest in potential free agents. We've already talked about 2 of the top of the heap on the defensive line and Milton Williams, defensive tackle of the Philadelphia Eagles, and of course Baltimore Ravens offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley. My good friend and Patriots paisan Steve Balestrieri is my guest today. We've been talking about this from a reasonable standpoint. Of course, if Steve is here, he always lends that reason. He is our resident voice of reason after all. And Steve, both of us have kind of agreed that it's a thumbs up when it comes to adding both Stanley and Williams. These are huge needs for the Pats. Games are won, championships are won in the trenches. You need to rebuild, and free agency is a great area to do it. Patriots have the money. Let's get these done. But I know there is still a large portion of the fan base, and I fully sympathize with each and every one that are yelling at the screen or the listening device that they're hearing this on right now and saying, Drake May needs weapons. We need a receiver. We need someone to attract the attention of the defense because the Patriots haven't had someone like that in a good long while. Obviously, there are names out there through the draft that the Patriots could target. We've talked about Isaiah Bond. Ted McMillan continues to be a name that's thrown out there, but I'm still not ready to go ahead and anoint anyone in that class as being the type of game-changing talent the Patriots are going to need at receiver in order to see drastically marked difference this year in a Josh McDaniel offense with Drake May at the helm. So naturally, that's going to bring up the need for free agent receivers. And there are some names out there that we've talked about. T. Higgins, Unfortunately, franchise tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals. It looks like they're going to try to work out a long-term deal with him. Cooper Kupp might be available by a trade market. Deebo Samuel has already been wrapped up. He's on his way to the Washington Commanders. There are a few others that could be available via trade, but the free agent market is starting to heat up a little bit. Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was not franchise tagged, and a lot of people believe that may be a signal from Tampa Bay management that he's going to get the opportunity to go out and test the market and see what's available for him. Another player that is now on the free agent market is now former New York Jets wide receiver Davante Adams. Now, conventional wisdom would tell you, Steve, that Davante is not really looking to go to a team that is on the cusp of rebuilding. He wants to go to a place where he can go and win a ring. And he may be looking to go to wherever Aaron Rodgers pops up next. So if that is the case, this is probably a moot point. But there are some elements to the New England Patriots that do make some degree of sense. Obviously, the Patriots could offer him more money than anybody. We've talked about that before. If Davante is looking for a bag, the Patriots can give it to him. If he's looking to be a number one wideout again without having to share the spotlight with anyone else in that wide receiver room, he could do it and come here in New England and immediately be the alpha receiver in that room. If he wants to work with a young quarterback and develop a synergy with someone who's exciting, someone who's getting better each and every day, he's got that here in Drake May. So when you look at Davante Adams and the potential fit here in New England, it may not be as far-fetched as people think. Or is it? I'm asking you to apply your reasonable wisdom and counsel to this one, but is there a chance that Davante Adams even considers New England? And if so, is there a chance he potentially ends up here?
I think, is there a chance? I'd say less than 5%. To me, Davante Adams, even if he could be maybe talked into coming here, I think that's a hard no for me. And I think he's going to follow Rodgers wherever Rodgers goes, which would preclude them, or preclude him, I should say, for searching for a ring, because I don't think Rodgers is going to lead any team to the promised land at this stage of his career. So, and I think Rodgers is the kind of guy you add if he's the missing piece. All right. Like if you think this roster, is ready to go for a Super Bowl and you're missing that one little piece at the top, then I could see spending the money to go after Adams, a guy like Adams. But for the Patriots right now, I don't think this is the right guy for them. Yeah. Plus he was due like $35 million this year. And if they're going to spend $35 million on a receiver, then I want somebody like T. Higgins or, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
I don't want to pay Davante Adams that kind of money. Yeah. That's just my personal thing. But I think the chances of him coming here, less than 5%.
Yeah. It surprised me when this happened. And even over the weekend, when you started to hear rumors that this was likely going to be the outcome for him in New York, that eventually Davante would be released and he would be free to go and to sign with another team. It really surprised me to hear that the Patriots were a team that was showing interest, or that would have marked interest in Davante Adams. Obviously, he's an upgrade from whatever they have. So clearly it's not about them not liking the player. It's about him being a fit here in New England. 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. So you're looking at a guy that knows how to play the position well. He caught 67 passes last year, 854 yards, 7 touchdowns in 11 games. So still respectable numbers from a guy that is on the north side of 30. He is 32. And in a lot of respects, Steve, I think that may be one of the areas where the Patriots are looking at now and saying we've got a very young quarterback, someone that we believe can develop a receiver and bring out the best in them the way that receiver can bring out the best in our quarterback. I think we've seen the best of what Davante Adams is, and it's excellent. But I think you make a very interesting point. At this stage in his career, is he looking for familiarity? Is he looking to go and chase a championship ring? If that's the case, then yeah, I think that takes New England out of the running. And then if you're New England, you also have to take a look at the situation and say, okay, well, if we are going to get younger at the position and we want to build Drake May's camaraderie with his pass catchers, you don't want a guy that's going to be here maybe 1 or 2 years max and then is going to be out the door. You want to have someone that he can build with and he can develop a synergy with. Some people are using the Josh McDaniels situation as a way to either tip the scales in favor or not. I know McDaniels had his share of detractors in Las Vegas. There's no question about that. A lot of players were happy that he walked out. Reportedly, Davante was someone who could work with Josh again, theoretically. They worked very well together in 2022. 100 catches for Davante Adams, 1,516 yards, 14 touchdowns. It's clear that Josh knows how to utilize this guy and get the most out of him. But again, that's 2 years removed. And now you're talking about a guy that did have a unceremonious end to his tenure in Las Vegas, which ultimately led to his return to New England. So I'm with you on this one. I think there are reasons to consider it, but when all is said and done, I think this was a thumbs down for me. And honestly, I think it would be from Davante's standpoint too. I don't think New England is what he's looking for.
No, I don't think so. I honestly, I think he's content to go wherever Rodgers goes. It's going to be like a package deal for whoever. If anybody signs Rodgers, I think he'll find a job somewhere. But it's going to be a package deal. They're going to have to take Davante Adams too, which is not going to be cheap.
No, it's not.
No. So I don't know. I mean, but I don't think he's the right guy for the Patriots at this stage. I would rather see them, draft a young guy, first, second rounder, and maybe add another veteran, somebody who's going to be a chain mover and, a reliable kind of target for him. That's why, there's some other guys out there. None of them are obviously, in the same realm as T. Higgins or even Adams. But, in free agency, you have to attack what you can get and then try to draft. So I would look elsewhere in free agency and still try to draft a young guy.
I'm glad you mentioned someone that can move the chains, someone that has the versatility and the ability to play a number of different types of roles, but really specialize in one. A name that continues to be bandied about throughout Patriots Nation is Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Bucs recently decided not to franchise tag Chris. He's been, with the Bucs for a number of years, but they decided that 144% pay increase that they were going to have to give him was not the prudent move at this time, and they're going to let him walk and go test free agency. Now, those that I've talked to close to the Bucs have said that the expectation right now is that Chris is going to go out, see what the open market has available, and then regroup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But we know from our experience covering Bill Belichick teams for a number of years that there are times where this works to your advantage, and then there are times where you can get burnt by this strategy. So if, in fact, the Bucs and Godwin can't find an accord, if he does become available, is New England a potential fit for him? Because you already look at the fact that the Patriots have Demario Douglas in the slot role. That would automatically say, well, you need more help at the X. Why are you not going for a bona fide X receiver? But Josh McDaniels is coming to town, and we know that he has a lot of experience working with multiple slot receivers at once and utilizing them to their talents and getting the max out of each and every one of these guys. All of a sudden, Chris Godwin becomes a hell of a find. Do you see the Patriots maybe getting involved in talks if he's legitimately available?
Oh, yeah. I think they're, going to kick the tires around with Chris and see where he's coming from and what kind of money he's looking at with his agent. And then, they'll go from there. I like Chris Godwin. I think he's a really good receiver. I think he would fit in quite well with Drake May, and that would be the selling point. And then again, the Bucks are a playoff team, and part of the selling point, I think, would have to be Vrabel and Wolf talking to him and saying, "Look, we're down at the bottom right now, but we're going to make moves, and we're going to be back up there very quickly." And you have to try to sell them on the culture aspect as well. So I think that's going to be really important.
Folks, a lot of free agency and a lot of positional talk still to come on Locked On Patriots, so stay locked in for the remainder of the week. You will not be disappointed. But in the meantime, I want to give a tip of the cap and a big thanks to my good friend Steve Balestrieri for joining me here today. And folks, once again, thank you, all of you, for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots, especially all you everydayers. Our show would not be here without you, and we appreciate all of your support. We also appreciate the support of all of you occasional listeners and anyone joining us from the first time. We hope you've seen enough to help you stick around for a little bit, because the best is yet to come as the Patriots get set to kick off the 2025 NFL season. In the meantime, on behalf of my good friend Steve Balestrieri, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, to stay well, to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow on Locked On Patriots.